happened in the last video.
But I'm gonna follow him. The other guy did seem pretty insane. Well, that was a bad end.
And here is more MrDudeManSir.
Okay. Well, I'm back, and I'm going to choose do not follow the voice, and hopefully I will live. No, you know what? I can't just believe you in only a couple of minutes. At least I know the other guy from a little longer, for his arguments seem to be more weighty. He'll be sorry. Those words sounded like they were coming from another world. The voice seemed to disappear. Of course, I couldn't be sure whether my choice was right or wrong. It was kind of a blind guess enforced by a time limit. Nevertheless, whether I'm right or not, we'll find out soon. Well, at least I didn't get a bad end now. And if I do get like a super bad end, both choices lead to a bad end, I'll just kind of cry because I have to replay the entire game and look up a walkthrough. In a couple of minutes, I was standing at the bus stop with all the other pioneers. Hi, everybody's here. Well, began Olga Manchevna. We're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you something in parting. She was visibly nervous and desperately lost for words. I hope that you remember the time you spent here for a lifetime, and that you will retain only pleasant memories about Sovanok. I also hope that you became at least a little bit better, managed to learn something and found new friends. Just come back next year. The camp leader looked away. It's like she was trying to keep the tears inside. I didn't expect her to get so emotional. Although her speech sounded like complete nonsense to me as usual. The pioneers started to crowd around to the bus, babbling cheerfully. I decided to hold on a little and say a proper goodbye to this camp. All of a sudden, I felt a deep urge to throw a coin. Of course, there's no fountain here, and honestly, I didn't feel like returning. But it's still just a superstition and I don't believe in them. At least I never believed in them before. Digging through my pockets, I found only a couple of candy wrappers, a pencil, and a scrap of paper. I held them for a moment, then I squatted, putting the paper on the ground and scribbled a few words. You're here for a reason. Grinning at my stupidity, I threw the scrap of paper under the wheels of the bus and got into the cabin. Now hey everybody, I found a place in the middle. But the strangest thing was that everyone sat in pairs and I was the only one alone. However, what's the difference now? I'll either disappear or restart everything in a couple hours? Look at Miku with a little like cat ears thing. That's pretty cool. The bus was slowly moving towards the district center, occasionally bouncing over bumps in the road. It was impossible to see anything beyond the old windows in the pitch black dark of the light. Anyway, I couldn't care less about surrounding countryside. I just sat and waited for the inevitable. For the first time in a long while, my head was completely empty. The pioneers around me enjoyed the trip. While Olyana and Alyssa were playing cards, Lena was reading a book and Slavia was sleeping. Miku was trying in vain to start a conversation with Genya. Genya was really trying hard not to kill people. Electronic and Shirk were crafting something as always. I was the only one completely ignored by everyone. It might be slightly far-fetched perception. I got used to the role of being the center of the universe in the camp. I thought that everything revolved around me. That might be so hard to a certain degree. But here, now, I'm only a foreign object, an out-of-place molecule in the harmonic pattern of a crystal grid. I'm not sure how long we spent on the road, but sleep had already started to overcome me. I was desperately fighting Morpheus, trying to stay awake as long as I could. After all, it's quite possible that today is the last day of my life. And probably it's reasonable to cling as hard as I could to these few hours of meaningless, useless existence. However, physical fatigue and, more importantly, emotional fatigue took its toll, and I fell asleep. A sharp pain throbbed through my entire body. I felt it especially sharp in my temples. It feels like they're ready to shatter into 1,000 little pieces, giving the wind free access to my empty head. Probably I would not have been able to stand even 5 minutes of such torture if I hadn't opened my eyes in time. I was somewhere. It was impossible to tell precisely where. My mind was clouded in mist. My thoughts were confused. The moment between the unconscious and conscious states where you vividly remember your dreams. I was going somewhere by a bus, and I was about to doze off when suddenly a girl came up to me and began to speak quickly. I couldn't understand a word, but the girl looked very upset. I failed to understand what she needed from me. Time passed and she kept talking on and on. I was getting really annoying. I wanted to ask her to cut it out or at least calm down a bit, but I failed. Either because I didn't manage to say anything or because my words didn't reach her. I couldn't even see her face. I was simply listening and staring and listening. Perhaps it wasn't even important to me then. Surely you would try to remember what a mosquito disturbing your sleep looks like. Surely you wouldn't manage to recall the frequency of its flapping wings or the inclination of its proboscis after that. And this girl was just one of those millions of voices that disturb you from concentrating, from thinking, from falling asleep. The louder her voice grew, the harder it got for me to catch her words. The bus cabin, the seats worn by time, the uneven floor, the rusty ceiling, the cracked glass of the windscreen, everything was floating away, along with her. And then I felt a unique sense of relief. It didn't matter how real the bus and the girl had been, it was nothing but a bug to me. And here I am, hanging in total emptiness and falling inside of a dream. Wow, dreams can be really something. Not quite a nightmare, yet definitely not something pleasant. I got up, rubbed my face, and got back to reality, gave a loud yawn and prepared to clean myself up. It was a really grey morning. Unable to find my hygiene kit on the nightstand, I concluded that I could manage without it. It was hard to get dressed, my hands were trembling like hell. I looked at my reflection in the mirror and checked out my 2-week stubble. Well, perhaps old Dmitrievna has a razor. It was only when I went outside that I suddenly understood that I'm not in the pioneer camp. I'm back at my apartment. I've just come out of my room into a passageway, not out of the cabin. I was overwhelmed with surprise, with dismay, with fear, even terror. But how? I sat down on the bed and buried my face into my hands, trying to remember the chain of yesterday's events. Yeah, the bus, the last day of the term. Yeah, I fell asleep. I woke up back home. Well, to some degree, it might even be quite logical. It seems that your initial astonishment is worn off during the first few seconds. After all, the fact that I came back like this after a long week absence is no stranger than my sudden appearance at some pioneer camp of the 80s in the first place. The events of the last 2 days flashed before my eyes in an instant. That mysterious pioneer, his words. But how did I manage to get back in reality then? According to him, I was going to be stuck there forever, and there's no exit. On the other hand, I wasn't alone. That pioneer at the bus stop and the mystery voice emphasized the contrary. The exit exists. Does that mean I found it? I managed to get out of the endless loop? But how? Nevertheless, I wasn't sure whether I should rejoice or grieve. Over the last week I kind of gotten used to the everlasting inner monologue, the search for answers and the in-depth analysis of everything, so I simply couldn't accept the fact as it was, without figuring out exactly what happened to me. Sure, he told me that I'm the only one who observed the existence of other guys like me during the very first loop, but does that mean anything? Anyway, all his theories and ideas instantly collapsed in like a house of cards. Now I had to decide how I should act. Of course, I should rejoice. After all, I'm back to the real world. Maybe the last 7 days were just a dream. Indeed, there's absolutely no evidence that I was really there. I don't see my pioneer uniform over there. I look my age just like I did before. Maybe my phone is on my table, fully charged. But only one thing I can't deceive is one's memory. Whoops. You can't deceive one's memory. Only can't live through such a terrifyingly real experience as in a dream. I still remember the events of this whole week in detail. Perhaps I was in a coma all this time. An ironic laugh escaped my lips. Nah, that's not an option either. Then, all's well that ends well. The last few hours in the camp flashed through my mind. Indeed, I wasn't hoping to get out, either from that camp or from reality, and I was pretty much ready for another week, and another one. I'd accepted my role. I'd reconciled with my destiny. And what was I supposed to do after all the stuff that happened? I gave a doomed sigh, got up from my bed in considerable effort, and then went on with my computer. That's weird, but according to it, only 14 hours have passed since my disappearance from this world, not a whole week. A new message in the instant messenger. Hi Semyon, yesterday it was legendary. See you later! My college friend, it was him who invited me to that party with the rest of the college friends that I was going to attend. Suddenly all my senses came back to me. The headache, the dizziness, all the symptoms of a hangover. Looks like I indeed attended a party yesterday, and I was partying hard. So there's no pioneer camp. But then, where did all these memories, emotions, and feelings come from? All of this was so incomprehensible that I became enraged. I began cursing and fouling, trying to tear my hair out and hammering the keyboard with my fists. I didn't return to the normal state until there was no keys left on it. Why should I care so much? Nobody worries when a dream or hallucination ends. Moreover, people are usually glad when it happens. Was I really prepared to stay there and then my return to reality became so undesirable for me? Then a simple and obvious thought crossed my mind. Perhaps I'm just going insane. Indeed, men unfrequently have visions which they perceive as reality. Besides, I have all the symptoms of insanity. I never leave the four walls of my prison. I never socialize. I have lots of psychological problems. Well, that explains a lot. My dark, nervous laughter echoed through the room. Guess it's the right time for me to visit a therapist, or rather a psychiatrist. Or I should just surrender myself at the asylum. A horse! A horse! Half my kingdom for a horse! I cried at the top of my lungs between the bouts of my maniac laughter. Dispute not with her. She is a lunatic. The racket my neighbors made on the wall calmed me down somehow. If I'm tripping that bad, it looks like only a lobotomy could help me. I sat completely freaked out for several hours, doing nothing, thinking nothing, just staring at the monitor, long since gone into sleep mode. Finally I moved the mouse and opened a few tabs in the browser. So what's new? F5, F5. As if the memories of the past week had never happened. Come on, do you have a grief for a hallucination? Was it real? Sure, lots of memories. Sure, looks true enough. By all means, yes. Any proof? No. The verdict is clear, as is my future course. I have long suspected that my current lifestyle wasn't doing me any good. I wasn't ready for such unusual an event, but so what? I have to be more prepared for my next trip. Night. An endless stream of threads and images took my mind off the lamentations and considerations. An instant message window popped up most unexpectedly. Hi, how are you doing? Sure, quite an original way to start a conversation. Doing fine. The contact's profile was completely empty, not even a nickname. Just a 9-digit number. You can't guess what kind of person is on the other end by just looking at a number, can you? Sure, someday it'll be all different, unified digital identifiers instead of names. A couple of symbols for a biography, several bytes for a personality, and 3 bits of feelings. Get home safely, did you? Probably someone from yesterday's party. Seems like it. Do you remember anything I told you yesterday, right? Well, I guess not. There was another message after a long pause. I see. Honestly, I don't give a crap who this is and why he's messaging me. Until this unidentified individual starts harassing me, I could easily tolerate his presence in my contact list. Well, that's okay. We'll meet again. We surely will. Sure, looking forward to it, yeah. Alright, bye. I didn't reply. This odd screwed up day at last was slowly coming to an end. Going to bed, I yet again recalled in my head the events that seemed so real for me. Where am I going to wake up tomorrow? Will these hallucinations return? Nah, I'm probably just gonna forget everything. Strange, but now I'm really feeling that everything happened now is real. That was just a fiction, a game of deformed imagination, or really something fantastical. And here is reality. Sometimes inconvenient, sometimes it unfolds differently from how you'd wish. Surprise you like this, but it's still reality. I fell asleep with these thoughts. Bit by bit, my life resumed its normal course, and I started to forget the events of that week. After all, nothing bad happened. Even if it was indeed real, who cares? It was only 7 days in a pioneer camp. I wasn't killed, nobody kidnapped me to conduct experiments, I wasn't brainwashed, so why do I care about the reason? And if it indeed was a hallucination, I can only hope that it won't repeat itself. I was still shut in. The computer and internet were my only friends, and the keyboard was the only communication channel connecting me to the outside world. The F5 key became the main thing in my life again. Come to think of it, it really wasn't all that bad. Yet one day a familiar combination of digits popped up on my screen. That strange contact of mine had come on once again. Hey, how you doing? Doing fine. Probably I knew him from somewhere, but who cares anyway? Any news? Not really. Stability is a sign of true class, you know. Oh, one might say so. Oh, I see. The conversation was over for me, but he didn't seem to feel like that. So nothing has changed? Nope, should have. Well, it's not like you experience stuff like that on a day-to-day basis. Not everybody gets to experience it either. What are you talking about? Don't you get it? I was starting to. I prefer you to explain. Don't you remember the camp? It felt like an electric shock. All the events of that week immediately sprang up in my mind. My head started to tremble, a cold sweat burst from my forehead. I turned around in horror, already imagining that I had seen aliens, ghosts, and the Grim Reaper. But there was nobody in my room except me, as always. I ran to the corridor, checked in the kitchen and the bathroom, still nobody. Unless I turned to the computer. The same message window was still flashing steadily as a perfectly ordinary message. Who are you? My hands were trembling so much I could hardly hit the right keys. Oh, so you do remember it. My hallucinations seem to be continuing, or did I never leave that camp in the first place? Or is it just a dream after all, or... I don't know what to say. I admitted sincerely. Anyhow, I felt that this entity, that's the only definition I could think of, doesn't need any complete internet to communicate with me. Well, you can just keep silent, everything's perfectly clear. The smiley at the end of the line looked like a devil itself, stretching its deformed jaws open to devour me. What's happening to me? I finally made my mind to ask the question. Nothing at all. I'm just living a regular life. But the camp, was it real? What do you think? I'm not sure. If it seemed real to you, then yeah, it was real. If not, then it wasn't. Just that simple. Not that simple at all. What will happen to me next? I whispered. Nothing to worry about. It seems that it really hurt me without using the internet. Terror chained my whole body. I closed my eyes and curled myself into a ball. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I started to lose it. Words were coming from my mouth by themselves. Illogical, meaningless set of words. Why? Why me? What for? What for? Leave me alone. I haven't done anything bad. Several minutes after I found the courage to open one eye and make a look at the monitor. You are the reason for everything. The message window was flickering coldly. And what's next? Oh, you'll see it soon enough. Everything started fading to black in my eyes. Noise filled my ears and I started feeling dizzy. I felt that my very soul was escaping its physical shell. The events of the last few days became hazy, as if they'd all happened to someone other than me. Then the memories of the camp started to vanish, as if somebody was using the eraser to thoroughly lub out the words written in pencil. Moments later, I felt and sensed nothing, as though I plunged into a state of cosmic bliss. If anyone saw me at that moment, they would notice I was smiling. I'm kinda stuck here. I hit the report spam button, closed the window, switched to the browser, and glanced at the clock. Time to get going, I'm gonna be late. Forever alone, huh? Every story has its beginning and an end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis, contents, key points, and prologue and an epilogue. And there's no book which, if you read it again, would not reveal new details and you didn't notice before. Every story has its beginning and end. Almost every. Well, that was, a good ending, I'd say. I don't really, know what just happened, but, it was good. I would like a bigger explanation of it, but, hey, that's fine. However, this isn't the last I'm gonna be playing of this game. You know Lena? The girl I set out for, you know, from this very beginning? That's who I'm gonna be going after. I'm going to go and look up a walkthrough of her. And I will make more episodes of this until I get to that ending. I will find it. And I will do it. But until then, well, I guess this is a good enough ending for now. To keep me good and awake at night thinking about this. I hope you enjoyed it as well. So yeah. Yeah.